In this tutorial, I am going to show you how you can add hands to the Quick Rig character in Maya. As you know, the Quick Rig comes without hands, and therefore it really doesn't allow you to move the fingers in your hand. But I can create the joints for the hand and then attach it to the skeleton that is connected to the rig. So let's see how to do it. So the first things that I want to do, I want to turn off the rig and turn on the skeleton so that I can see it. So this step needs to be done before you proceed to skin your character. I forgot to mention in the beginning, but you always finish the skeleton and the rig before skinning. Okay, so as we say, I have turned off my rig and I have turned on the skeleton. So I'm gonna look for the hand joint here and making sure that I turn on the snap to center, and using this shortcut in the rigging, or simply go to skeleton and create joint. I want to create a joint that is close but not quite touching the end, the hand joint. So I'm gonna put it here, and then from here I'm going to add the joints for my hand. And actually probably is a good idea to do it from the top. Now if you go back with the arrow key, you can go back into the hierarchy, and so you can quickly navigate back. Three, then back with my arrow key, and then the last one. 1 and 3. Okay, enter. And so this is my hand joint. Now I want to make sure that is inside my model, and as you can see, the snap works really well in positioning the joints inside your mesh. I'm going to turn off the geometry so that I can see better the joint. So one thing that happens often when you're creating a joint from scratch is that the orientation of the joints is not consistent. So before you go ahead and make adjustment or mirror the joint to the other side, you want to make sure that each joint is oriented correctly in relation to one another. Okay, so the way to do that is by going to Display, Transform Display, Local Rotation Axis. Turn that on, and you can see it shows now the rotation axis of the joint. So you will have to select each joint and do that for each one of the joints. Go, and then again Display, Transform Display, Local Rotation Axis, and there you go. And as you can see, the rotation axis is not completely consistent. So how do you move the rotation axis of the joint? You have to switch to component, and then in the component, if this part is not open here, you select this little triangle to the side of the bar and you bring up the options and make sure that you select the question mark. So I can see that my Y axis is correct and Z and X axis is correct, meaning that it is aligned with the axis that I have in my world. So the Y is facing up. But what you should do, you should click on each of these components. Now with all the joints selected, you go to skeleton and orient joints, bring up the options, and if this is not selected, you may want to select to world and orient children or selected joints and reorient the local scale axis and orient. And now, as you can see, the joints are oriented correctly. The one that I want to modify the orientation is the one on my finger here in the thumb, because the thumb moves in a direction that is different of the one of the other fingers. So what I want to do, I want to select the thumb's orientation. Here you go, and I want to put the Y in this position. Yeah, in the horizontal position, so that when I rotate the finger in this direction, thumb will go this direction. Okay, this is it. And now I change the selection mode back to object. I select the root of the hand and display, transform display local rotation axis, and I have to do that. Okay, and display, turn that off. All right, and this part is done. Now what I want to do, I want to mirror my hand to the right side. So again, I will select the joints and then skeleton, mirror joint, bring up the option, axis Z, Y and Z, and search for left and replace it with right. I don't have anything written left here, so I simply have to mirror, and there you go. The hand is being mirrored in the opposite side of your skeleton. Okay, so now the last step is the most important one, because what you have to do, you have to create a parent connection between the last joint and your hand, but it has to be done in a very specific way, otherwise it will break your rig. So here we are. What you have to do, you have to open the quick character reference tab here in the outliner and open until you find the so on the spine. I keep going down the spine. I need to find the left shoulder. Here it is. Left arm, left forearm, and left hand. And you can see at the end of the left hand you have this constraining, that this is what is attaching the effector to the joint. Okay, so this is my left hand. So what I will do, I will select all the fingers, but not the very first joint. And I will drag it inside the left hand. There it is. And now I will get rid of the extra joint. Alright, so you see here now if this still works. You can see it is attached, and if I rotate, I'm rotating the hand. Perfect. Now another thing that I wanted to show you, and this is a trick. You know that you have oriented the joints in your hand correctly if when you select the top of the finger and then you go over with your mouse, right click and select hierarchy, and you will see that the entire finger will be selected, and that you will have the manipulator at the end, and I am on rotate mode, and when I rotate the finger, as you can see, it rotates in a way that is along the same axis, in the same direction, and it is consistent to the rotation of the anatomy of the hand. So select hierarchy and so forth. And on the finger, if I select the hierarchy and the thumb, I want to make sure that you can see I'm closing this way. Okay, so you have to repeat the same thing on the other side. So let's find the joints of the hand. So you go down the arm and shoulder. So here is my right hand, and now I will select the joints, and I will attach it to the right hand and delete joint 41. Let's see if it is attached correctly. Yeah, that seems to work, and this seems to work as well. Okay. I want to make sure that the hand looks inside, that is inside my model, and it seems to look fine. Okay, and so this is how you add the hands to a quick character rig in Maya. One extra step that I usually do is also adding a joint to the feet, because I want to be able to animate the flexion of the feet, and as you can see, I'm kind of missing a joint here that will connect this to the tip of the foot. So again, this is pretty straightforward. Make sure that you are still snapping to the mesh, and okay, I want to make sure that. Okay, so what I do, I create a joint. That's it, actually, and maybe make sure that I position correctly. A little bit more this side. Yeah. And now I will mirror the joint. And navigate my character hierarchy to find the leg and the left foot and the base, left toe base, and then add the joint there, and same things with the right leg, right foot, and add the joint there. And you can see the bone is basically automatically added when you parent this way. And then again, I want to make sure that this is working correctly. Perfect. Same here. Perfect. And now same here. Okay, so I have added details that I wanted to add to my quick rig, and now that I have completed this, I can go back and create the skinning for my character. So for the skinning, I'm gonna do a different technique this time. Instead of going through the quick character rig, I'm gonna show you how you can do it from the main menu here in the rigging section of Maya. So what you need to do, you need to select the skeleton by selecting the hips, which is usually the core and the parent root of your skeleton, and then select the geometry that you're going to be skinning. And now in the skin, choose bind skin. And this is the preferences that I have, which are what I have here by default. I'm gonna leave it by default. Again, I'm gonna change the maximum influence to 4 and bind skin. Okay, now my skin is binded, and what I have to do now, you will see it that when you select your rig, and actually you can turn, well, I'm gonna leave it on so that you can see it. Your skeleton has turned into this beautiful color. That means that it has an influence over the geometry. So there is a skin node connected to the skeleton. And so now what you have to do, as usual, you have to look for problems in your skinning and fix it. And that's another process that takes a little bit of time, and I have another different tutorial for that. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. It is quite useful to have the option to use the quick rig in Maya. It cuts a lot of time off, and when you're able to add the hands, it's actually a pretty good tool that you can start using.